So I've sort of stopped using Facebook, at least in the ways that I used to, which is how a lot of people are using it currently. I've had an account since 2008, and I've seen the environment of the site change steadily over the course of my 8 years out of the 10 it's been available to the public. Now, don't make the mistake of thinking that I'm imposing my stance about this website on you viewers, or claiming that my experience with it is the default one. This video is simply a thought piece on the nature of Facebook in general and my personal experiences with it. When I joined the site in 2008, I had just turned 16 and was landing right in the apex of high school. Like most people my age, it was the website that everyone was moving to from MySpace, which, by the way, has turned into this postmodern wasteland.
So here we are in MySpace land, and it's just like, I don't even know, like, quite what all is happening down here. Like, you have, like, this, like, radio thing, and, like, what? Sign into MySpace using Facebook. Like, how sad, man. Okay, so I've signed in, and, like, how do oh, I'm down here. My profile image. Okay. So basically, like, everything right here is something I have no... It's just a large photo. That's my profile. It's just one huge photo, I guess. Let's see. Portfolio. Not even something that I've done. Connections. These are my friends. Oh, man. Remember when you would just friend things like garlic bread, which obviously hasn't logged on in a while. Oh man, these were dark times. Oh, here's my wife. Like, I don't even know who half of these people are. Like, some of these people, like, I don't recognize. And, like, are they even real? Songs, videos, photos, nothing in connections. What about real? Oh man. Oh man, I thought, like, man, I was edgy. You know, the past is the past for a reason, and I think that photos have this horrible property of preserving history, and that's both a beautiful and horrible thing. Old profile songs. Wow, this was actually something that I, like, when I first transitioned to Facebook, I missed. It's like, I wish I could have a song on my profile, you know, so when people first went to Alex, they would hear Empty Walls by Serge Tankian to let them know that they were welcome. Yeah, so basically this site is garbage now, and I'm pretty sure no one uses it because, like, I don't even understand how half of it works anymore. And I don't even know what it's used for anymore. Like, because it definitely doesn't seem like a social media website in much of any regard. But whatever.
And once upon a time, my MySpace page looked like this. So, of course, the jump to 2008 Facebook felt like transitioning from a crack house to an opium den. I mean, the vices were mostly the same, but one certainly felt a lot classier than the other, you know? A lot of my posts were pretty typical of a junior/senior on social media. These were my first 3 posts to the site. The first post was at 1, and the last 2 were within 10 minutes of each other at about 4:30. I mean, I was already using the site to its fullest potential, you can tell. 2009, I was still nailing it, and also song lyrics daily were starting to become a thing. 2010 ushered in my time of very poignant religious comments, being sure that people were aware that I was creative and still nailing it. However, as time went on, I started to treat the site with less and less bravado than when I first joined it. 2011 was when things were slowly changing. I started posting statuses where nobody knew what I was talking about or referencing, and by this point I had stopped using slang words like LOL and haha. The end of 2011 was also when I started talking more and more with the girl who would eventually become my wife. So our timelines were overloaded with our conversations, much to the annoyance of our friends, I'm sure. Eventually, our talking migrated to texting, and 2012 was more of the same from 2011. Things remained mostly the same up through 2014. 2015 hit, and my posts were getting much less frequent, and I started to care much less as well. I'd post Hitler quotes over photos of Abraham Lincoln, a photo of me in an empty room with the hashtag wine conference, and a photo of nature with the hashtag still at the wine conference. What all of this basically meant was that I realized that part of the reason I was using this site was just to impress people. Partly females, and once I got a girlfriend, the limit of my strangeness on my posts had essentially vanished, and I started posting the things I was probably too afraid to post since the beginning. This is also when people noticeably stopped interacting with me, at least less than they used to. I may have had a few people unfollow me due to the annoyance of my conversations with my girlfriend, which I can understand, but I also think that the honesty and lack of artifice that my posts had now were just not interesting to people. More or less, I had started using Facebook like it was Twitter. Small stream of consciousness posts, and they were getting little interaction from my friends. And by November of 2015, I decided that I had had enough of the site. I unfollowed all of my friends, no exceptions, and most of my liked pages, save for a Christian webcomic, a BuzzFeed parody site, and the same photo of Michael Cera every day. There are many reasons why I decided to make this decision. One being a subtle addiction to the site. I'd have the homepage open constantly and would often hit F5 to refresh to see new posts. I'd rarely miss any posts from my newsfeed and would see everything I followed 24/7. But I took a moment and made a realization. I don't like 90% of what I see on this site right now. This epiphany led me to my decision to remove a lot of myself from the site. But it also made me realize some other things. Let's jump back to 1950 or 1960. You're living your life in a small rural town and have a small circle of friends. You'd call up some of these friends from time to time, maybe invite them over for dinner on the weekends. But aside from that, there wasn't much interaction with them. People who worked would see their coworkers daily, obviously, and people who stayed at home mainly had neighbors to converse with. Everything was localized. Anyone outside of town could only be reached by the postal service and maybe the telephone. Long-distance calling was still finding its footing in the mid-20th century, and calling outside of the USA wasn't even really a thing yet. My point of all this being is that most people's interactions with each other were one-on-one, save for maybe party environments, which are casual in nature anyway. But say, for example, that one of these 1950s persons collected all 150 people they knew, which now for us today might easily be an even larger number, got up onto a soapbox and declared, "Today hasn't been great. My kids have been misbehaving like crazy, and when I finally got them wrangled up to go to the grocery store, I wasn't even able to get what I needed because they were out of it. I'm so tired of being an adult today." And then all 150 people have the ability to react directly to this statement or merely pass over it and continue with their life. This seems like a strange and somewhat perverse scenario, right? And yet here, in the 21st century, this is what happens on Facebook on a daily basis. Bo Burnham's latest stand-up special, Make Happy, came out recently, and it's likely to be his last, at least for the foreseeable future. If you're a fan of his, I recommend checking out this interview with him from earlier this year. What he's saying here and in his new special is just how strange something like stand-up comedy is. It's being the only person talking in a room filled with people, and they're all focused on you and what you have to say. So in essence, these Facebook statuses are just performances. You're playing for an audience, and the viewers are everyone that you know. This is predominantly why the only practical use that Facebook has for me now is one-on-one interactions with people that I probably wouldn't have contact with otherwise. I also use it for posting my creative works, so this one practical use is really what's keeping my account one step away from simply being a Facebook page rather than a Facebook profile. So this is one last thing I want to comment on negativity. Facebook is a breeding ground for negativity, and it's everywhere. Let's walk through some various examples. So vague booking is when someone posts something that is extremely vague and usually also thinly veiled, so as to receive sympathy and empathy from uninvolved factions in the problem. Example, man, some people just really don't know when to quit. These harsh words are really hurtful to my spirit, and it's really getting me down. So sorry, dear. Sending prayers your way. Sad face. Chin up, you're great. Sad face. Now, this instance might be an extreme example, but vague booking has far-reaching variants. Now, there are obvious inherent problems with this type of behavior. The person posting this status is leaving out important information about the situation. This could be for a multitude of reasons. They don't want everyone knowing all the gritty details. They don't think that Facebook is a great place for such details. They don't want the people they're talking about to know they're talking about them when the people they're talking about definitely know already. Look, the point is, don't talk like this, ever, for any reason, because these people in the comments, they don't know what you're talking about. And using them to make yourself feel better in a situation that they have no part in, it's just sickening, really. If you're having a hard time with something, talk with your close friends or family directly and in detail. They'll either call you out on your nonsense or reassure you, or both. Either way, it'll be much healthier than a public broadcast for people's acceptance of you and your circumstances. Sharebait. So this stuff is all over Facebook now, and it's predominantly shared by the older crowd on the website, which means it's basically the social media equivalent of email forwarding.
All right, 8 amazing holes. Number 8 is the most amazing. Okay, cool. So Kimberley Big Hole, South Africa. Okay, Glory Hole, cool. Bingham Canyon Mine, Belize. All right, Diamond Mine. Mine, Canada. Okay, Sinkhole, Guatemala. The most terrifying. Oh. Thanks, Mom.
It boils down to pictures with asinine captions over them with the intent to play into people's most basic feelings and emotions so that they spread them like crazy. First off, you have things like minion sharebait. Like, what is this? Why? Why are there so many pictures with dumb captions that have a Despicable Me character at the bottom? Why? Then you have the more pointed sharebait. These are the worst because they also combine vague booking in to make a nice, neat little package. Like, this stuff just sucks. It's negative, it definitely correlates to a specific circumstance in the person's life, and people will just hit like on this stuff instinctively at this point. I think negativity thrives on Facebook because of how indirect you can be. You can say what you're feeling, but not directly to the person you mean to say it to, because you can just say it to everyone. Think back to that image of a 1950s person on a soapbox. Imagine they say a vague, thinly veiled statement. The image has suddenly become a Where's Waldo puzzle because someone in that crowd of people is the target of that message. And the speaker never has to be one-on-one. The speaker never has to do anything scary. Are you having a religious or political argument in comment form? Well, you can say anything you want because what's the worst thing that a person can do to you digitally? There are no filters for speech, no rational consequences for what people say and who they do or don't say it to. It's social chaos laid out in a minimalist aesthetic, and it's the third highest ranked site on the internet. To close, I'm not asking you to delete your account. I'm not asking you to unfollow all of your friends like I did. I'm not asking you to keep doing what you're already doing. I only ask, if you're a Facebook user, to think about what use the site has for you and what you get out of it that's positive. And by positive, I don't mean fluffy quotes about happiness over a photo of clouds. I mean direct, real interactions with people. Interesting conversation, intriguing use of the website and its features. Are you getting these things? And should you be? Facebook is a free service. It doesn't owe anything to you, and you don't owe anything to it. So ask, is it making you a better person? Or even, are you using it to make the world a better place?